I quit my job. Then my CEO showed up at my door and said, "I can accept you leaving, just not losing you." The knock came at 11:47 p.m. 3 precise strikes, measured, confident. Not a neighbor, not a mistake. I didn't move at first. I stood in the kitchen with my resignation letter still open on my laptop, cursor blinking like a pulse that refused to die. The apartment smelled of cold coffee and cardboard, evidence of a life already half-packed. The knock came again, slower this time. I already knew who it was before my phone lit up on the counter. Unknown caller. I let it ring. The silence between us stretched, heavy and intentional. I imagined him on the other side of the door, straight-backed, coat immaculate, patience weaponized, a man who never knocked unless he intended to enter. I opened the door without checking the peephole. He stood there exactly as my mind had drawn him, black coat, tailored lines, eyes calm and predatory. My CEO, my former CEO. He didn't apologize. He didn't smile. He looked past me, into my apartment, as if taking inventory of what I had already stripped away. "I accepted your resignation," he said quietly. A pause. "But not losing you." The words didn't sound like a confession, they sounded like a verdict. And in that moment, I understood something terrifying. Quitting my job hadn't ended anything, it had only started the reckoning. I had planned my exit with surgical precision. 6 months of silence, 4 rejected promotions, countless late nights where his gaze lingered just long enough to bruise. Everyone else called it ambition, I called it possession. He never touched me, never crossed a line that could be proven, but he watched. He remembered things I never told him. How I took my coffee, when my voice changed under pressure, the exact second I stopped believing loyalty would protect me. The first crack came during a board meeting. His phone buzzed. Once. He didn't check it, but I saw the name flash across the screen. Elena. His wife, the woman the company pretended didn't exist. Later that night, I stayed late to finish a report he didn't need. He came to my office doorway and said nothing, just stood there, shadow cutting across my desk. "She knows," he said eventually. I didn't ask who. "She thinks you're temporary," he continued. "People like you never are." That was the moment I understood the game I'd been drafted into without consent. I didn't confront him. I didn't react. I resigned, quietly, professionally. And I thought, naively, that distance would starve whatever this was. But now he was here, standing in my doorway, with eyes that said I had underestimated him. I didn't invite him in. He stepped inside anyway. The apartment felt smaller with him in it, like the walls had leaned closer to listen. "I won't stay long," he said, removing his gloves. "I came for clarity." I watched his hands, always controlled, always clean. I had spent weeks preparing for this moment without knowing it. I replayed conversations, reread emails, not for evidence, there was none, but for patterns. He had maneuvered me into dependency, praise followed by withdrawal, access followed by isolation. Classic, and I hated myself for noticing too late. While he spoke about concern and potential, my mind cataloged facts. His wife's foundation payments, the assistant who vanished last year, the non-disclosure agreements disguised as bonuses. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse. I asked one question. "Did you expect me to stay forever?" He smiled, not warmly. "You were already staying," he said. "You just didn't know why." That night, after he left, I didn't sleep. I started digging. The truth arrived in pieces, an encrypted email from a former legal consultant, a misfiled expense report, a name that kept appearing where it shouldn't. Mine. I discovered why my projects had been protected, why my mistakes never surfaced, why competitors circled but never touched me. He had been insulating me from the company, from his wife, from consequences. I printed everything, didn't highlight a word. When I asked him to meet, he came immediately. He looked almost relieved. I slid the folder across the table. He didn't open it. "You already know," he said. "Yes," I replied. "And now you do too." For the first time, his composure fractured. Not panic, recognition. "You think this gives you power?" he asked quietly. "No," I said. "It gives me choice." He leaned back, studied me, and finally understood the shift. "I'm not exposing you," I said. "That would be emotional, messy." He waited. "I'm leaving you," I continued, "exactly where you are." I stood. He didn't follow. I had already forwarded copies to his wife, to the board, to myself. Timed, delayed, controlled. I watched realization hollow him out. "You planned this," he said. "Yes." "And you still quit?" "Yes." I walked away while he stayed seated, surrounded by the empire he'd built and the silence he could no longer control. I changed cities. Jobs came easily. Power follows those who survive proximity to it. Sometimes, late at night, I remember the knock, the certainty in his voice, and I smile, not because I won, but because I left. Unowned, untouched, unreachable. The final truth? He never lost me. He just never had me at all.